The boat can continue for a long time yet, and to prove it, we are first going to take it up in dry dock and let everybody see that we had been navigating for about 1 month when we had a terrific experience in a very rough sea. The top of the crests were above the top of the mast, and we broke one of the rudder oars, the shaft of the rudder oar. It's as thick as a telephone pole. It's matched right off like a match without damaging any of the papyrus. And that made us turn around, losing the steering ability, and we took the seas over us for 2 days before we found the means of making an improvised steering mechanism and go on. Since that time, we've been as we are now, and to prove it, you can go on board and you'll see barnacles growing on top of the deck.
But was it very critical at that time?
Yes, that was very critical. It was really hard. That was danger. I mean, we had no means of substituting the big timber with any other piece. Everybody laughed when they saw the big timber of the oar and said, before you break this, you'll break all your papyrus. But we did not. As you will see, there is not a papyrus broken, and we have
how thick is the oar?
The oar is exactly 16 centimeters thick. That is as thick as a regular thick telephone pole.
Now when you're successful here on Barbados, what can you say that has been proven by this trip?
Well, several things have been proven. One of them is definitely that a papyrus vessel is seaworthy. It has been a common doctrine among scientists that a papyrus boat could only be used on the Nile, and that the ancient Egyptians, for instance, couldn't leave the river. They could not even cross the Mediterranean. No, a papyrus boat does not only belong to Egypt. It was used in ancient Mesopotamia and all the way over to Morocco and the islands in the Mediterranean, where reed boats are still used in some places today.
So there is a connection between the cultures?
There is a connection all along North Africa and right into to Central Africa as far as papyrus boats are concerned. And we do now know that they can be really seaworthy. We have traveled 2,700 miles last year before mistakes in the construction made us abandon it. And this year we traveled more than 3,000 miles. So there is no question that people who knew how to build them and to navigate them could go anywhere in a papyrus boat. Now that is one thing. Another thing is that we have a definite answer to an old discussion among two groups of scientists. One group saying that the ancient civilizations of tropic America are independent of the rest of the world, that people coming from Asia with a very primitive state of culture had invented script and pyramid building, etc., here, completely independent of what went on in the Mediterranean area. Another group saying that this is not true. Maybe somebody drifted across the Atlantic with primitive boats.
And that's what you've proven, that it might be possible.
And we've proven that it might be possible. As a feasibility, I mean, a papyrus boat might have brought the ancient cultures, say from the north coast of Morocco, where you have great inspirations from Phoenician area of the inner Mediterranean. They could very well have come over. That doesn't mean that I insist that they have come over, but it is absolutely practically possible. Yes, I would say that this was absolutely shocking, really shocking. We discovered it by coincidence last year on Ra1. It was forced upon us when you crawl out of the cabin and dip your toothbrush in the ocean every morning. You see what is there. And we found lumps of oil in some places, so many that we hated sort of washing ourselves in it. It was really dirty. So I decided this year, when we repeated the experiment, to make a systematic survey. Last year we made samples, collected samples off the coast of Africa in the mid-ocean and before we came to the West Indies. This year we collected every year. The Moroccan expedition member, Mr. Madami Ohani, had that duty, and there were very few days during the whole trip that he did not pick up oil lumps out of the ocean. There is no question to it that this is an extremely grave situation that man doesn't realize when he's traveling high and dry and far away from the water. It's something really serious, and something must be done to find out what is the reason. Is it because oil tankers wash their tanks, or is it leakage from drillings, or what is it? We are all that have seen it really concerned about it. I've already sent a report to the permanent Norwegian delegation with the United Nations, and I've had a reply from our Norwegian government through our ambassador with the United Nations, asking us to fulfill the testing, sampling, and we did. And we have now in Barbados all those samples, and a detailed report, day-to-day report, not only of the oil pollution, but of all the objects we sailed into day for day, being bottles or plastic or pieces of cork and wood and things that man has thrown overboard. We are accustomed to believe that the ocean is what it was at the time of Columbus, but it is not. There is a limit to the size of the ocean when you think of all the pollution that modern man is pouring into the sea every day. It's very, very grave.
Please pull that line, sir, in the gray shirt. Please, will you pull that line, please?
Shove him off hard. Shove him off hard. Pull that.
How can you stand there and just stare? How about they need some help to hold us off? I have another pair of feet here. Another pair of feet here to hold her off.
You must stop it. You must get something here first.
Please, hey, stop there. You're against them. Hop along. Can somebody do something here? Can somebody do something? Stop them. Hold on the other side. Hold it on the other side. Hold in, please. You can't push us. Hold it on the other side. Do they have a bow line over? Do they have a bow line over? No.
He's a rail setter.
Do you have a bow line over to the dock? Well, who can speak to them? They are sailors, are they not?
No.
They're engineers.
Engineers, they don't know a thing about sailing.
They don't know anything about how to move a ship into the dry dock either, do they?
Crushing the rod too.
Norman, be careful.
That man's looking like that should be up tight.
Dr. Heyerdahl, is this the end of the Ra expeditions? Well, you just pointed out that the expedition isn't quite safe yet. It's dangerous even in the harbor of Barbados. So I feel that the expedition is over when we have Ra safe inside the walls of the Kon-Tiki Museum. As far as sea voyaging on a reed boat is concerned, from my point of view, yes, it is ended. I felt that Ra 2 was necessary to demonstrate really that you can go even the last little leg, and to show that what we failed in the first expedition was to find the right method of lashing the reeds together. Of course, now it remains to present the material for the scientific world, which in this case, in the first instance, will probably be done by Dr. Santiago Genovese, who will be attending the Americanist Congress in Lima, Peru in August. where I also should have been. I'm signed up, but in the meantime, I've had a request from the United States Senate, what do you call it, antitrust committee, to certify about the ocean pollution. And I think that in this case, Santiago can do what is needed in Peru, and I think that it's important enough for me to go to Washington and report what we have seen of water pollution, because that is really something that is really disturbing.
What's going to happen to the Rr now? We know that it's going back to Oslo, but how are you going to go about it?
Well, right now I would like to have a look at it below water level. We did in the ocean, but we went so fast, so it was very difficult to get underneath and get a close look. So I booked the local dry dock. So in the end of the week, we'll pull it out of the water, have a good look, film and photograph it, then put it back into the water again and leave it floating in the harbor here until I get some ship, probably Norwegian ship, to carry it back to Oslo as deck cargo, because the board of the Kon-Tiki Museum in Oslo want to build a new hall at the museum and incorporate the Rr expedition there.
Now, you were at sea 57 days, and a lot of things must have happened at sea besides working, sailing a ship across the Atlantic. Can you tell us about some of it?
Well, what I would like to stress is that to me the most rewarding part of the whole expedition was the successful outcome of the international cooperation. We were 8 people from 8 different nations, representing different parts of the main political barriers, different skin colors from white, yellow, and black, 6 of the main religious beliefs of the world, from Catholic, Protestant, Copt, Buddhist, Muslim, not to mention nature philosophy and perhaps atheist. We're all different people, but at the bottom we found that man is so alike that we came through it as if we were brothers. I'd say that if I'd selected a crew among one nation, or I could even say one family, we would have had momentary quarrel, that is human, but I think that we could not have done it better than what we did with this international mixture as we had. And I would say that this expedition was a perfect example of teamwork. It was the fact that everybody put his heart into it, everybody did his best for the common outcome of the expedition. That made the success. I'm indebted to every single one on board, from the American navigator to the Russian doctor, everybody else, for the outcome. And to me, that was a daily pleasure to see that this worked out. The cabin was a little, you could call it a wicker work basket. You have seen it. When we turned over, the next man had to turn over almost at the same time. You could wake up. If he turned out to hit me, he would hit you in the nose with his elbow. And you really had to get used to many things. And I don't think that any one nation could have done it better than this complete mixture.
Some of the crew were telling me there were really 9 members of the crew. Your wife, Yvonne, was really a member of the crew in absentia.
Well, in absentia, she really deserves a great praise. I mean, what she did at the home front in contacting everything and organizing everything, following up, organizing the receipt on this end, etc. She has been a really fine girl.
Norman, what did you look forward to most when you landed?
Meeting Mary Ann here at Sam Lord's Castle.
Yuri, what did you look forward to most?
Really, I don't know. I was so happy. So maybe I wanted a big glass of cold beer.
Dr. Genovese?
I think reaching land is good enough.